Greetings and welcome to Careful Conversations. My name is Jane Barton and I serve as a Caregiving Ambassador for AARP, the sponsor of this program. I certainly want to thank you for coming by today to have a chat about some aspects of caregiving from the inside out. Now, if you're a caregiver or a care receiver today, I think you would agree with me that caregiving is a common cause. It's a common concern because the majority of us will be called to care at some point in time, and ultimately, we will all need care. So my message today is this: caregiving is best engaged by design, not by default. And what I mean by that is we need to be proactive in our care. We can prepare to care in some ways. Now granted, I know we're not clairvoyant, we can't anticipate everything that will happen over the course of a lifetime, but there are some givens in this journey of caregiving. So let's accept the reality that we are all aging. I know I'm the bearer of bad news, but that truly is the reality, and with that comes some changes physically and cognitively. So as we get older, we will realize that this biological shell will ultimately let us down. And oftentimes that will lead to an increase of care that's going to be required. Now, if we have a major change in health, a diagnosis, that is a game changer for all involved. And so we need to work with our care providers. We need to work with our doctors, our nurses, and anyone else involved in our plan of care to anticipate the ever-increasing levels of care that may be required. And by so doing, we can start to consider what we will need in the days, weeks, and perhaps years to come. So being proactive, that certainly is important for ourselves as well as for our loved ones. So being proactive after the diagnosis, what does that look like? Well, it means learning everything you can about that disease process, to be proactive about understanding the prognosis, and to understand your medical options and the consequences of any choices that you may have. Working with your team of care, you can anticipate some of the challenges that you will have in the future, and you can plan your next move. We also need to remember and realize that a major change in our health will also precipitate other changes, things that we need to anticipate. So if we have a change in health, perhaps we're going to have to reconsider our housing options, the geographic location in which we live, perhaps our support system, as well as our preferences for end-of-life care. So for example, consider the house in which you currently reside. If it's multi-level, it may serve you quite well today. But if you have a diagnosis that is progressive and may inhibit your ability to ambulate the stairs, that is not going to serve you well in the future. So instead of waiting until you have to make a change, consider the financial implications of selling your home and moving to a long-term care community, or perhaps moving across country to move in with an adult child. We also need to consider the environment in which we live, the climate. Now, I live in Denver, Colorado, and I love it right now. It may not be that favorable in the next 10 to 20 years. I may grow weary of shoveling snow. And in the environment in which you live, the community, we also need to assess the available resources. Certainly the access to health care, acute care as well as long-term care. We also need to have available retail services and accessibility to those. If you're no longer driving, is there mass transportation, public transportation that can get you to and from in short order? So there are a lot of things to consider. And certainly our supportive care network. Where you reside and where you are aging, do you have available friends and family members who are able, willing, and there to care for you? If not, perhaps a relocation is going to be advisable sooner rather than later. And then when we consider end-of-life care, we need to revisit our preferences about medical interventions. Now, I know a lot of us dance around that issue, but this is incredibly important to have the conversation with the people that will be responsible for your care. This is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to each other, because then there are no questions. We don't have to wonder. We absolutely are certain we understand how we can care for each other and serve each other with mutual respect. So when it comes to caregiving, caregiving by default does not serve us well. So I hope that you will be proactive, that you will be a designer, and that you will chart a course that you and your family can truly enjoy, one step at a time. So I want to thank you for your time and attention today, and I hope that our paths will cross in the very near future. If you have additional questions or concerns, please check out our Caregiving Resource Center offered by AARP or my website, Cardinal LLC. In the future, we're going to publish other videos, and they will be on all facets of caregiving, so check back in at your leisure. And until then, take good care and remember to enjoy the moment.